let's talk about Eric Bischoff's MLW One Shot event that happened on December 5th because your girl Marie Shadows got upgraded, bumped up a little bit, I guess promoted, if you want to say, to helping out and actually helping out with talent and making sure that the show is running smoothly and to also make sure that the seating arrangements are good and to make sure that everybody across the board is good. And I say that in a very general sense because I don't really know what kind of title that is, but I was helping out with talent and everything else and making sure that things were running smoothly. Normally, whenever I go to MLW events, whether they are here in New York City at the Melrose Ballroom, which by the way, December 5th, we were sold out. Sold out. Thank you, New York City, for selling out the Melrose Ballroom every single time that MLW comes to New York City. Thank you so, so much. And whenever I can make it to the Philadelphia shows, which I have in the past, and even almost got stranded out there to the point where, like, I didn't think I was able to come home, but luckily I did. But that's a whole nother story for maybe another time that I have already pre-recorded. But yeah, I almost got stuck out there and didn't have anywhere to go. But luckily, I was able to make it back home that one time that me and others went out to Philadelphia for MLW. But anyway, whenever I can make the shows, I am usually media press. So what that includes is that I get to have access to wrestlers for interviews, like pre-show interviews, and watch the event, take notes, put up on social media as the show goes on, and basically inform my community and the wrestling community what's happening at MLW shows and stuff like that. I'm media press for MLW and giving them my platform, which I love, love, love to do. Now, the only difference is that most media press members would just stand there, sit around, not do anything. But me, I like to help out. I like to be hands on because I just don't like staying still. You're giving me the opportunity to talk about your company, to highlight your wrestlers, and to highlight how much of a great time it is to be in MLW because I always love being a part of MLW and the family of MLW and just helping out when I can. So whenever I get there, I always try to basically ask, can I help you in anything? Can I do this? Can I do that? Do you need me to move the chairs? And then even at the end of the show, I do stick around to not only congratulate the wrestlers, give them high five, give them praise, and also just talk to them about what I do. But if they need help with cleaning up a little bit, moving the chairs around, getting stuff organized, I'm always there as an extra helping hand. So this time around, I got promoted to do just that because that's what I love to do in the wrestling business. I don't really like to sit around if I have the title and the honor of being media press. Like, there's so much more that I can do. And I don't do it just because I want to get freebies or anything like that, because most people would put two and two together and be like, she's just doing it for freebies and or getting paid. Or I just want to kiss up to the wrestlers and get all these interviews and all that kind of stuff. No, I actually put my work first. Whenever I am helping out, it is work mindset. I sort of get tunnel vision, even though I can talk to the wrestlers and be like, hey, can we set up an interview and whatnot? I could always do that, but I'd rather make sure that the wrestler, first and foremost, is good with the show, good with what they have, and if they need me to go grab something for them, I'm their extra helping hand. I think of it business first, work first, and then later I can ask them for an interview or for something for the content of my wrestling content creation. I've been doing this for the past now going to be 6 years, ladies and gentlemen. When we get to January 2025, season 6 of this podcast will begin. If you are new to the Square Circle podcast, I will be doing a extra podcast episode to explain what's going to happen in the year 2025 for season 6, year 6 of the Square Circle podcast. I will say right now that I am thinking about just changing up the name of the podcast. Nothing is set in stone. Again, this is professional wrestling. Everything is subject to change. I've been doing this again for 6 years once we reach January 2025. As of right now in 2024, December 14th, this is currently year 5. And in my opinion, I don't believe it is as strong as it should have been. It's a very decent year for 2025. I managed to do what I can for 2025, but looking at the numbers, which I like looking at my numbers, my analytics, I go crazy over it. I obsess over it because I want to be the very best wrestling content creator out there that is completely different from everyone else that you hear. With that being said, we are currently up to season 5, the ending of season 5, which is obviously this month. And yes, the Square Circle podcast started in 2019 in October the 19th, right after that bad Hell in a Cell match that had Seth Rollins versus The Fiend. And you could go all the way back into my catalog and listen to how far I have come in podcasting and how much little changes here and there happened, and just really staying the course. Because again, this is what I love. I love professional wrestling. I don't know any other sport. I don't know any other thing. And if we do talk about something else, it wouldn't really be a podcast episode. My bread and butter, so to speak, for the lack of a better kind of analogy here, that it is professional wrestling through and through. And this is where I can get very, very nerdy about wrestling. Especially, I want to bring back the tape study series, but let me not release everything that I'm thinking about for season 6. Just know that there will be another podcast dedicated to that, where it's all my thoughts, ideas, and I would love your feedback. I encourage your feedback, and I really hope that we can have a brainstorming session of what you would like, not like, maybe have a survey in there, who knows. But professional wrestling is everything to me. So look out for that. The episode is coming up right after this episode that we talk about MLW One Shot. Okay, so MLW One Shot here in New York City at the Melrose Ballroom. I get there at 12 p.m. in the afternoon because I like to be on time for everything, and I like to have the John Cena work ethic where it's you're the first one in and the last one to leave. Obviously, I was not the first one there because they already had people there. The ring was already set up. Do you know how important that is? That is super important. And I was like, my God, because every time that I'm at an indie event where I'm working the event or I'm vlogging at the event and basically being media press, it just depends on what I'm doing and what my title is that day. I have been to some indie promotions that the ring is late. The ring is not set up, and they don't have as many helpers as MLW gets. And to be there at like 12:30-ish in the afternoon on December 5th, and to see the wrestling ring already up with the ring skirts and everything, it was beautiful. I was like, that is professionalism. We don't have to worry about no late rings. We don't have to worry about falling behind the schedule, even though I understand that life happens. I understand that things happen in wrestling, that because we are in the entertainment business, nothing goes according to plan. You can make the plan, execute the plan, and then some shit happens where you either have to adapt to a new plan and get something in there that may fit, that may work or may not work, or may fool the audience. Regardless, you still have to be on your toes. That's what the entertainment business does, that it basically have you on a constant testing to see if you can survive. And we survive because we're professional wrestling. We survive. So cool. The ring is set up. We have lots of people waiting. I see a lot of familiar faces. So I'm going up to them, saying hi, giving hugs. And it's been a while that I've seen some familiar faces on the indie scene. And I'm happy that they're here to basically help out MLW. And it was pretty damn cool to see them. I always love seeing my wrestling buddies that come on through and help out in MLW. It's always a good time. And I can tell you that on this day, there was just a different feeling, a different atmosphere. Everybody wanted to help out. Everybody wanted to do something, even though we had like more than enough hands. Do whatever task is needed of them. So after I say my hellos and give hugs and have real feel good moments of meeting all of my friends again and saying what's up, I am finally tasked with seat charting. And I was like, all right, cool. That's not bad. I've done that before. I did that before when I was part of Ring Crew back in the day, so many years ago. And really thinking about it, big picture, it's like, damn, I've been involved in the wrestling business for so long that I am so used to this that it just comes second nature. And so I was doing seat charting with two other wrestlers that were amazing the whole entire night. The whole entire night. I enjoyed their presence so much. And I really, really enjoy their company. They are new to wrestling. They have respectively 1 to 2 years under their belt as professional wrestlers. One of them, her name is Susie, so look out for Susie. And there is another gentleman that I forgot his name. And if he ever hears this, he is going to crack some jokes on me. And I'm going to just laugh and be like, I'm so sorry, dude. But he was an amazing on-hand worker to help me out with the seating. And we all had this wonderful chemistry together to just put the right stickers on the chairs. Now, if the other people that were there hears this, I love you guys too. Every single person that we had on hand were super helpful. They were helping out with different tasks. So as me and the two wrestlers were doing the seat charting, we also had the other wrestlers put the MLW skirts on the guardrails. After they brought in all the guardrails and put the guardrails up, we had to arrange some of the seating to fit more. We also had to make sure that like the sound was working, even though that was taken care of by the sound crew. Everybody helped out. Everybody had something to do, and everybody was wonderful. I do not want no one to tell me that I didn't give them praise. Everyone was doing an amazing job, even during the rehearsals and even during the pre-tape segments. My God, let's talk about it. We should get the Guinness Book of World Record for the most amount of minutes, I would say, that we were quiet. And it's hard to get wrestlers and workers and talent to be super quiet during the pre-tapings. Okay, so let me set the scene. You guys obviously know that if a wrestling company is going to do pre-tapings, so let's take WWE for an example. If WWE is going to do pre-tapings in the arena that they're in, there are multiple places where those pre-tapes can be done, where there's no outside sound, nobody is doing anything. So they are able to get that pristine sound and make sure that everyone who's in the segment for the pre-taped is going to be heard by the fans. In the Melrose Ballroom, you don't really get that because sound travels. It's a very intimate, small venue that sound travels. When we did the interviews, the pre-interviews with the wrestlers, we were downstairs where the bathroom is in the Melrose Ballroom, and for some reason, those bathrooms have saloon-like double doors. You know, back in the day of the Wild West and some of the saloons where you go and have a beer, you go through those double doors and they kind of swing back and forth. It's sort of like in a smacking sort of motion with a smacking sort of sound. So that's what we have down there at the Melrose Ballroom, is those type of doors when it comes to the bathroom. So those were loud as anything. They were super loud. And from people walking back and forth and from workers of the building being there, some wrestlers coming down from the elevator, it was very difficult to try to get really good quality interviews whenever we did interviews down there. So that's to give like another idea for the Melrose Ballroom in terms of trying to film something where there's no outside interference of sounds coming in, sounds leaving. You want an audio track to be very, very smooth and clear and very high so that way people can hear what's happening. And I say that to contrast that WWE could do these anywhere, and to get back to the point of that we should get the Guinness Book of World Records for being quiet, because the showrunner, because I'm going to name him the showrunner because he was giving us the orders, actually told us to be quiet because they were filming with Eric Bischoff, and they were filming in the stairway and even like in the back. So because sound travels, we had to be quiet. And I can't believe that we were quiet for about maybe those minutes. They didn't feel like long minutes. They just felt like, all right, cool. We're all going to be quiet. They're all going to do that. And then after they were completely done filming about maybe 2 to 3 times, maybe 4 times to get the right shot, to get the right words, the right emotion. After they were completely done, the showrunner was like, thank you so much. We all clapped in unison because it was a very, very interesting moment, a very feel-good moment. And of course, we were going to be like, yep, you go do what you got to do. We'll all be quiet here. Even some of the workers, I agree with them. They were like, man, we should get some award for this, for being like the most quiet ever. It's very difficult to try to get a locker room of, again, workers, talent, maybe some wrestlers walking around like super, super quiet. And it worked. It did it. And it was amazing that we did. We also had another collective sort of, let's stay quiet and let's watch the professionals and what they do. And we were watching the rehearsal for Eric Bischoff and his interaction with Matt Riddle and Tom Lawler. And again, we were all quiet. We were all just watching. We were all like mesmerized. And it was just super fun just to see the small little rehearsal to make sure that everything goes as smoothly as possible. And you can tell that Eric Bischoff was in his zone. He was cheesing so much. And you can tell that he truly loves this business and interacting with wrestlers and being Eazy-E. He truly, truly loves it. And getting to finally meet him and say that, hey, yeah, I'm Marie Shadows. And he was like, hey, right now I'm so cheesy, man. Like, I am on cloud 9. I was on cloud 9 then. I'm going to say it. I marked out just because it's Eric Bischoff, man. I would never think to myself or even to my younger self that started on this journey. And originally, this whole journey started when I was back in college. And I talked to Jim Cornette and I was asking him questions about wrestling, and because I was doing a speech in college, and for my final, I believe it was for my final, that it was about wrestling. So it started all the way then when I was in college, that this whole thing led up to Eric following me on Twitter, to me agreeing with Eric Bischoff's takes and understanding it and wanting to learn more about the business from his point of view, and wanting to also help him out with storytelling because I have a degree in creative writing, if you guys didn't know. And I would just love to collaborate with him on that and to give him extra knowledge about writing stories. But he got to cover too. Sometimes the simplest of stories in wrestling, aka fighting over CM Punk's bracelet with Drew McIntyre, is sometimes all you need to get invested, because people attach their feelings to something that can be at times materialistic. In this case, the bracelet that CM Punk had, they can attach personal feelings to something that is sentimental to them because that value means the most to them. And most ordinary average people can relate to that. That is why sometimes simple storytelling can go far and beyond and get people invested. It got me invested, even though I really don't like friendship bracelets, but it got me invested. And I would use that as an example of talking about how stories can be simple. Eric Bischoff also has that understanding too when it comes to simple storytelling when he's telling his audience. So getting to meet him was amazing, and talking to him and just explaining like what I've been doing with the podcast and what I'm doing in MLW, which is again to help out to the best of my ability, to help out the talent, the seating chart. Like I was just on point of like, this is everything I'm doing because I don't like to sit still. If you tell me I'm media press, that's amazing. That's awesome. But also let me help you out because while it is a free gesture to have me be at the event for media press and give the company a space on my platform, I want to make sure that they know that I am willing to work no matter what, even if it's free labor, that I'm willing to be there as an exchange. I see it as an exchange. You give me this free opportunity to put your company over. I am going to, without asking for money or for charging or whatever you want to say, I will end up giving you free labor to see that this show runs as smoothly as it could, even if I have to round up some chairs for you at the end of the show, or put some chairs, or do this or do that, or talk to fans and get their opinion on the show and then come back to you and sort of report it. And that's just me doing it out of the goodness of my heart because that is what I love. I understand that in the wrestling business, there is no I in team. Everybody is a team player, even people who are granted media press. But I understand that not everyone is going to think about this in the same way that I think about it. So if that's not what you want to do as media press when you go to events, you don't have to. But I just have a very, very respectful, like a deep respect for this awesome sport that we created called professional wrestling, and we can all share in it. This is the one thing that I love, and I feel like a broken record that I keep saying it over and over and over again, but it is just that passion that I have to help out whenever needed. And again, if you're not like that, that's totally fine. I just have a different outlook when it comes to what it means to be part of the business, helping the talent, helping the workers, making sure that things run smoothly, because you don't want a show to end up badly and the internet, that's all they could talk about is how bad the show was and that they need to hire this and hire that and people become experts. I'd rather be that extra hand so that way the internet don't get to talk about anything bad that happened. Anyway, Eric Bischoff made my night, and I also helped out in getting Eric Bischoff from the secret place that they had him and basically have him go down for the meet and greet at the end of the night. That was amazing. But let me not rush ahead. I got to stand side by side with my colleagues during the production meeting, which, by the way, that was one badass production meeting. That's all I'm going to say about that. That sort of behind the scenes stuff stays with me, but that was the most badass production meeting I've ever been a part of. And I was standing with my colleagues that night to just listen in, learn, and like I said, was the most badass thing I've ever been a part of. I've been a part of other production meetings for other indie companies, and I could just say that raise that bar up a little bit more. Now, after everything is set in place, we have all the ring skirts on the guardrails, we have all the stickers on the seating place. It is now time for the meet and greet, which the meet and greet is at 6 p.m. on December 5th. And I had the task of getting the talent. And the two talents for this meet and greet was Matt Riddle and Mystico. And I talked to Matt. By the way, Matt Riddle, as a worker, is damn good. So I had a brief conversation with him, introduced myself, let him know what I'm doing, and I told him about the meet and greet, and he asked what time it is. And I was on point with everything, meaning the time of the meet and greets and where it's going to happen and where his bag was. I was just on point with everything because I am very observant and I try to remember everything, and I did remember everything. And so he understands and he nods his head. We had a playful conversation about the meet and greet, but when it came to 6 o'clock, Matt Riddle was downstairs already signing stuff for fans. And by the way, in order to get a ticket that day, you had to pre-order the tickets in advance. And so while I was there with him, helping him out and making sure that fans had their ticket, or if they didn't pre-order, they could purchase one right there and then, everything went smoothly with Matt Riddle and all of his fans. Which, by the way, New York City is Matt Riddle country as well. New York City is also Eric Bischoff country as well. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing. I'm just amazed at all the fans that Matt Riddle has. And they show up and they show out versus the kind of comments that I see online and on Twitter about Matt Riddle. So it just doesn't add up. The negative comments that you see on the internet don't match up when you see these guys live and how they interact with their fans. And again, Matt Riddle is a really cool dude, good worker, and he was really, really great that night. Also, I was also helping out with Mystico. And I had to get Mystico from upstairs in the locker room to be like, hey, dude, you have to come down for your meet and greet. You have a really, really long line. So I accompanied him back down. He got right into the merch table, started signing stuff. Again, I was very quick to see if the fans had a pre-order ticket. If not, I would send them to the merch table and be like, look, you got to buy a ticket. There was this one guy that was going to show me his bank account. And I was like, no, don't you dare do that. Like, we're not doing that. Like, I trust you if you just bought it from there because I am looking. I saw that you were there. So I was like, cool, you just bought it. Go get your picture taken and sign autograph for like an 8x10. I had this one fan give me a digital camera. And I was like, dude, what the hell? I sort of felt old when he gave me the digital camera because I'm so used to having my smartphone, you know, and even if I say smartphone, but having my phone or using someone else's phone just to take the digital picture. But no, a digital camera. I was like, oh man, I feel some type of way about this. That fan was there to see Mystico. There was also another fan when he wanted to meet him, and I was like, hey, do you have a ticket? And he said no, and he wanted to pass me actual money to take to see Mystico. And I was like, nope. I pushed him to the merch table. You're not going to do that to me. I am not going to take money out of someone's pocket like that. I'm not even Mystico's like agent or manager. I'm just there to be like, you got a ticket? Cool. What do you need? You want me to take the picture? Awesome. I'll take the picture for you guys. But yeah, I sent that dude to the merch table and I was like, look, you got to pay over there. Just pay over there. He came back, got his picture, got his autograph, and it was a very smooth night for the meet and greets. And then later on in the intermission, we had Dijak. Dijak does his own meet and greet, which is pretty cool. Like, he just sells his own merch. We also had Ava there too. She was also debuting on MLW, so she was there. And then right next to them was Trevor Lee, who was also there. Akira, or I like to fondly call him as Deathmatch Akira, was there, and I was overseeing his merch table just in case somebody wanted to buy some stuff. But during intermission, people lined up to not only pet his dog, but also to buy merchandise from him. Bobby Fish was there too. Bobby Fish, I was looking everywhere for him to be like, hey, you have your table set up. Like, you know, you got your merch. Everything is good. You could go down and sell merch whenever you want to. Like, I legit was searching for him everywhere and even asking people, hey, have you seen Bobby Fish? Have you seen him? Have you seen him? Until finally that I found him and let him know. And then also helping him to like move his merch to the other table because I was explaining that like no one is at the end table near the entrance door. So if he wanted to take it, he could take it, and he took it. So I was just helping him adjust his stuff to over there. But seriously, if somebody gives me a task to go find somebody, I will go above and beyond to try to find that person and relay the information to that person because that was a task that I was given. So the whole night goes smooth. The merchandise goes smooth. Matt Riddle's cool. He asks me which hat should he bring out for his next segment that he had to do. And I was like, go with the yellow one. So when you guys see it, I told him to go with the yellow one, which really works rather than going with the black one because he was having a black shirt on. So that was pretty cool. I was like, yeah, go with the yellow, man. You'll be good with that. Showtime happens and we are at standing capacity, man. Standing room only. And I tried my very, very best to make sure that a certain pathway towards the back wasn't blocked because that is considered a fire hazard. So I tried my very, very best to be like, guys, I'm sorry that you guys can't stand here. There's room in this little area for you guys to stand, but this can't be blocked because it's a fire hazard. Because you also have to make sure that everything goes according to rules and regulations of the New York State Athletic Commission. So you have to go according to that and just go according to NYC law whenever we run these events. We also have paramedics on the scene. So just in case if anything happens. And yes, before the event, everyone gets their little mini physical. So we had that too. In New York, it's a lot more stricter than in New Jersey. In New Jersey, you could probably do whatever the hell you want. But in New York City, we got to follow these laws. And we always follow them to a T. So it was nice just having some downtime and being a fan and watching the interaction of Eric Bischoff and Matt Riddle and Tom Lawler, and then the interaction between Eric Bischoff and Mads Kruger and seeing that match right after. And like I said, New York City is Eric Bischoff country, dude. It was electric that night just to have Eric in the ring. I was cheesing. It was one of the best nights that I've had and that I am so thankful for being a part of with MLW and helping out. Thank you guys so much for having me there. So the night goes on. I then start talking to fans because there was these fans that I was talking about earlier that I was trying to find, a spot for them, even though we were only at standing room. So I was talking to them because I was throwing away people's trash because people can't find a garbage can, but then again, the garbage can is in a very obscure place and there's only one big garbage can for everybody there, aside from the garbage cans that the bartenders have. And yes, the bar was open. So please drink responsibly the next time that you come to one of our shows. That's just a general statement. You could also get sodas and waters at the bar as well. You don't have to drink alcohol, but if you are going to drink alcohol, again, please be responsible when you drink alcohol. Oh, as I continue to throw away stuff in the garbage can, that's how I started talking to the fans that I was like, hey, you guys can't stand here because of the fire hazard sort of thing going on. That we were talking, and two of them, they were there for the first time ever watching an MLW event because they heard of Eric Bischoff coming to MLW. So I was talking to them for a bit. His friends always attend MLW and they're always talking about MLW to the two first-time attendees, because the two first-time attendees were talking about how they always go to a WWE event or try to go to a WWE event. However, the prices are a lot more expensive for a WWE event versus $25 for MLW, something that you really can't beat. And if you want to have a good night, a wrestling show, and it's very intimate and you get really good quality matches, you go to MLW. So I was there talking to them the whole entire night and I explained what I was doing. I explained that I'm a former WWE employee and all this kind of stuff, and just, in here helping out and just doing what I love, because sometimes even though you succeed at getting to work at the company of your dreams, sometimes things happen and fallouts happen, but my passion still remains. So it really doesn't matter as long as I'm helping out in wrestling or helping out the wrestlers. with improving their characters, their promo skills, whatever they need, any kind of pep talk, any kind of feedback. I'm there. I'm there for the wrestling business. I'm also there for the wrestling fans. So, I had to put myself over like I always do. And I mentioned that I used to work at WWE, doing the WWE Network and helping that out. The guy was like, man, aren't you sad that it's going away? And I was like, yeah, I am sad. And I did the whole like dragging my finger from my eye to my cheek to be symbolizing like, a tear, like back in the day, like we used to do in the 90s kind of thing. And it was just really, really cool. I didn't really tell them that I have a podcast, but, we were just talking about wrestling, talking about how they had a very, very fun night at MLW. And I hope that they come back again to MLW. Like, I'm not trying to kiss ass for MLW. You guys might think that I'm overpraising MLW at times, but when you are there on the front lines and you're not hearing any of this through dirt sheets that do not do any of this to be on the front lines, when you hear it from a firsthand source like myself, it's a whole nother feeling because I'm there live. I know the experience. I basically interact with everybody. Everybody is super fucking cool. Everyone wants a very, very good show. And I am just part of that team. So I have a different perspective and experience that I could just tell you guys that may come off as being overly praised when you hear how I phrase things. But just know it's coming from a good place, a good heart, that I want MLW to succeed and that I like working with MLW and that it's completely different from anywhere else that I have worked and or be media press / vlogger at any other place on the indies that I've been a part of. So there is a huge difference. And I want to share that firsthand with you guys. So if you feel that it is overpraising MLW, it's really not. It's just me being like, this is exactly how it feels to be in a professional environment. Whether or not there are bad communication problems, dirt sheets running up the rumor mills and stuff like that, like every company is going to have a bad day. Every company is going to have something bad that happens within the company, but that doesn't mean that it cannot be a lesson. And that doesn't mean that's an every occurrence thing. Everyone has their own situations. This is why sometimes people will say to mind your business. And you learn that in New York City, because sometimes minding your business is the best form of business. Because if it doesn't affect you or if it doesn't infringe on anything related to you, then, it's not worth it. What's worth is moving on and making sure that whatever bad situation happens or whatever bad communication happens, and this is in general for like all companies out there and even for life, just know that you can definitely learn from any mistakes that happen, fix it, and keep on moving forward and make sure it never happens again. Working with companies and observing how interactions happen and observing what we read online from the dirt sheets and all the rumor mills, it puts everything into a different perspective when you're there on the front lines helping because your heart is in it to help it and your heart is not there to try to fuck somebody over. It's like two different things. Where I'm going with this, I don't know. I'm just realizing that sometimes people and even content creators would want to be ahead of the competition and sort of get into a lane that is not really ready for them to be in, just to fuck people over and be like, I got ahead of everybody else. But when that downfall happens, it's like maybe they become humble, Again, this is not a shot to anybody in particular at all. This is just me really reflecting on life and perspective and how things can be perceived from the internet world versus reality, especially when you have someone on the front lines to be like, look, I was there live. This is what I was doing. This is my observation. This is my experience. And sometimes people online will try to be like, downplaying your experience and bring up a lot of bad baggage for some odd reason and be like, well, what about this and what about that? Well, my question would be, why are you focusing on the negative? MLW is doing fantastic. And that last comment was not towards MLW. It's more towards, again, a generalization of what happens when you are so constantly online and reading the rumor mills and arguing with other fans and workers and talent as if the arm booking rumor mills, as if that is completely true when it is not. And you wonder why wrestlers end up snapping back at certain fans and saying what they say, because the dirt sheets do not do the frontline work of actually working with a company to actually see what goes on, to actually report on what goes on. But then again, they might end up just making stuff up for drama. Which, by the way, the goal for this podcast episode talking about MLW One Shot is to shine a light at how well MLW is doing. And just in case there are rumor mills out there in the dirt sheet world or any misinformation, you guys can use this as a reference point because I was working the show. I have not seen any kind of rumor mills, but you never know. Dirt sheets love spreading misinformation, and then fans go and run with it, and then conspiracy theories happen, and it's a whole big mess. So I rather have an educational podcast episode about what went down and about the cool things that I experienced and some behind the scenes stuff and praising stuff and talking about the company that I really enjoy working with. I'd rather have that out there for on the record stuff than have the dirt sheets have their cake and eat it too by spreading misinformation. Because I realize that this business needs a lot more people to tell the truth and to tell experiences of what happens rather than having the dirt sheet overtake the narrative, because the dirt sheets just care about themselves, and whoever is leaking to the dirt sheets should definitely be ashamed of themselves. But that's how they sleep at night, to make sure that misinformation is out there, because misinformation is the same as getting dirty money, because it's not true. And I just think that over the last month or so, that the dirt sheets just need to be put in their place, or we just eliminate the dirt sheets altogether. And so that way the wrestling business can thrive, kayfabe can thrive, and wrestlers don't have to worry about if misinformation gets out there, or even the medical information gets out there, or the medical updates when they didn't tell anybody, but apparently journalists know, which that is a breach of HIPAA, which can cause lawsuits if taken that far. Now, as I say all this, again, it's all generalization. It's all everything that I've seen online that I haven't really went back and forth with other people. But I wanted to bring it up here as a general talking point, just because I want wrestlers and wrestling companies to know that I got your back with anything. And I also really do care about the business improving. I do care about the way that information gets out there. I do care about that we should have kayfabe coming back. I do care about that. While sometimes getting rumors out there can help with selling tickets and creating angles and creating storylines, at some point it is going to backfire, and that's the last thing that I want for wrestling that I enjoy. All right, let's wrap this up. So the end of the night starts winding down. Originally, I was supposed to be the helper for throwing the bread into the ring as Kojima and his tag team partner become the tag team champions. And no, that's not a spoiler. If you saw it for free on YouTube, you already know that it happened. But I was called to go get Eric Bischoff, to where I had to go to the secret room to go get Eric. We bring Eric downstairs. He has his meet and greet. That was probably the fastest meet and greet ever. And then I was relieved from duties So I went upstairs to go grab my stuff, and I said my goodbyes to the wrestlers. I made sure to let Filthy Tom Lawler know that I am a fan of his and that I enjoyed his feud with Fred Rosser. That feud in New Japan Pro Wrestling is just one of the most amazing feuds I have watched. It is crazy. If you have not watched that feud between Tom Lawler and Fred Rosser, please go do so. I highly recommend it. That was beautiful storytelling that these two guys did. I got a high five and a compliment from Matt Riddle saying that I did great work today, and that was pretty cool to get that acknowledgement from Matt Riddle. I said goodbye to other people. I said goodbye to Deathmatch Akira. I've also said goodbye to Brock Anderson, the son to Arn Anderson, and CW Anderson, and I immediately was becoming a nerd and a geek, and I don't use those words for me, but my nerdy side of professional wrestling came out, meaning me talking about technical wrestling and getting all cheesy and just talking to them. And I had a very hilarious conversation because honestly, the whole entire night, it really felt like they did not want to talk to nobody because they had this presence about them. And it really felt to me that it was like a very deep conversation that they were having. And I was like, you know what? I'll leave them alone. I'll let them do what they do. And at the end of the night, I was going to tell them that I appreciate them and talk to them. And that's exactly what happened. And I told them that, and they started laughing because they were like, no, you could have came up to us at any time. And I was like, look, this is the New Yorker in me where I'm like, okay, I can sense that you don't want to be bothered. I'm not going to bother you until like I'm done, and I'm going to go home and I'm going to say thank you, blah, blah, blah. And then I go home. It's just a New Yorker thing that I could tell. And by the way, please do not take that out of context because there seems to be enemies all around Twitter. Don't take that out of context. I thoroughly enjoy talking to CW and Brock Anderson, and I can't wait for Brock to fully blossom into the industry. He's really good as a technical wrestler, obviously, because his dad is Arn Anderson, and yes, that's automatic praise. He's actually good. He takes direction well. He's always wanting to learn. I was telling him and CW that on my channel, since I do tape study series, during the live stream, we watched MLW when Brock Anderson debuted, and it was a tag team match with him and CW taking on Paul London and somebody else. And like Love Doug. And so I remember telling Brock that he did this small little thing that helps out. And I think it was like a facial expression or just something in the tag match that he did to Love Doug. And I can't remember it. And that's exactly how I explained it to him. And I was like, yo, that was a very good thing. Like, keep on doing it. Keep on, training and stuff. Obviously, he knows that. But I was just there to be like a little cheerleader. Listen, I was cheesing the whole entire night. I was on cloud 9 the whole entire night. And I was just being my nerdy self talking about wrestling because I love technical wrestling. That is the one thing that I can smile about and talk about and break down and explain why maybe all the arm drags that Ricky the Dragon Steamboat does in his matches, why that can be a potential way of winning a match, of telling a story within a match by using that one move. In today's wrestling, the art of storytelling in a match is lost. And we need to get that back. We really need to get that back. The art of storytelling in a match where finishers mean something, where you're not having a wrestler do 3 different types of power moves and that third move is the finisher and you go 1, 2, 3 and that's it. Just hit the finisher. But yeah, I was my nerdy self. I felt so comfortable talking to them, and I can't wait to work again with MLW. So after saying goodbye to the wrestlers, I also got praise from management and my wrestling buddies. It was a damn good night. I was super respectful to everybody. I was on point. I made sure that people had water. I made sure that if they needed something, I was always available. I was always adaptable. I was going up and down the whole entire small venue, taking the elevator. I was taking the stairs to get my steps in because I am very weight conscious and very I have to lose weight. So I'm getting all my steps in. But most of the time I was taking the elevator up and down because I was just like, this is too much here. With all of that being said, there is not one thing that I would change about the night. It was the most professional night I ever been a part of, and I cannot wait to continue my relationship with MLW, which brings me to the last thing is that going into 2025 for season 6, year 6 of the Square Circle podcast, which I might have to tweak the name a little bit, but it's not going to be as big of a change, but I'll say it here, meaning that we are going to talk about MLW going forward. We're going to feature MLW a lot more and just have a very fun, relaxed wrestling conversation, wrestling community, building things up, talking about MLW. I am really happy to continue to work with them, and I'm happy that this night for December 5th of 2024 was an awesome night. I am so thankful for Eric Bischoff to be a part of the MLW show. I am so thankful for talking to the wrestlers, making sure that everything went smoothly. I'm also just thankful for the opportunity because you don't really get too many opportunities in wrestling. And even if you do, sometimes things fall apart. Sometimes things don't fall apart. Timing is everything. And that's something that we just got to remember, that timing is everything in professional wrestling and just working everywhere. I am also thankful for all the good on-hand talent that we had. I am thankful for all those hands. They were super, super amazing. I'm putting everybody over because nobody deserves to get buried on this episode of MLW One Shot Review. And that is the behind the scenes for MLW. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. Please stay tuned for the next episode where we talk about the future of the podcast, the future of what I'm going to be doing, what I want to implement for 2025, because we are at year 6. And as always, I am willing to help out the business any way that I can. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to an episode of the Square Circle podcast by yours truly, Marie Shadows. And this was a behind the scenes talk about MLW One Shot featuring Eric Bischoff and the adventures that Marie Shadows had that night on December 5th, 2024, a night that will be remembered. And it was amazing. And I can't wait to do it again. If you enjoyed this podcast episode, please make sure to share it with a friend. And if they are a Spotify listener, they can head over to the Square Circle podcast by Marie Shadows on Spotify. Hit that follow button so that way you never miss an upcoming episode from myself and the podcast. So share it out. Also, if you are on the YouTube side of things, make sure to hit that subscribe button, join the family, and like the video and or audio podcast. Leave a comment. You can also leave a comment too on Spotify. I will explain that more in the upcoming episode, talking about what's going to be happening in 2025, because I don't think many people know about leaving comments on Spotify. If you have not already, please make sure to sign up to the Discord. Link will be down in the description below. And also sign up to the Wrestling newsletter, which is extra content, which will also be getting an upgrade in 2025. That link will be down in the description below. And yeah, that's the easiest way to help me out and help out the brand and help out the channel. And again, if you enjoy, share it out. I can't wait to hear your comments. If you want to leave any, you can. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you guys on the next one.